What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jobbers and Goons, and today you're getting a rant from me. You're getting my true feelings on Marvel's Cosmology after just so much time working on it. I am someone who I'll be out in the open about it. I'm a bit more of a Marvel fan than DC. I spend a lot more time reading Marvel than DC. However, as I've been dragging away at making Marvel's Cosmology video for current times as well as for DC. Doing fine in DC. DC's pretty easy to work with, but Marvel is a fucking nightmare. And before we get into this, make sure to like and subscribe. If you love content like this, it would be amazing if you hit the like button if you haven't subscribed already. Join Goon Nation. We are on the road to 30K, and I am very excited. Also, go like my recent video and my recent content, as people were calling for mass dislikes on my channel, which is cornball shit, but Goon Nation can easily neg that. And the video's still at like 97%, so that's dope. But getting back to this, what's wrong with Marvel that's got me so fucking tight? It is the cosmology. You see, I've been working tirelessly on reading up on current Marvel, trying to assemble a clear and coherent cosmology for you guys to see, as I'm doing the same for modern DC. And spoiler alerts, this is a fucking nightmare. So I'm working with one of my buddies, Omega, and my buddy Bread from my server. We've been doing our best to establish layers in Marvel, establish different sections of the cosmology, and it's a nightmare. We need to talk about the issues within Marvel. First of all, Marvel tries to get in a dick measuring contest with DC all the time, right? And one of the ways they go about it that really makes you suffer from a power scaling standpoint is they are anti using the word reboot or retcon. Why is that? Because if DC is going to retcon or reboot, they're just going to do that shit. They're going to be like, yo, we're rebooting this. Hey, we're retconning this. Sucks to suck. We're moving on. Like, they'll just announce it, and they'll make that an official play. And whether or not you like retcons or reboots is another story. But what it does establish is that DC lets us know when things are changing or when things are officially changed, and it's done in a way that's official. Marvel, on the other hand, doesn't want to look like they are copying DC. They don't want to look like they're moving like DC. How is that a negative for the scaling side? Well, that means they basically never use the word retcon or reboot. Even if they're rebooting the shit 10 times within a year, even if they're retconning shit and it's so blatant, they won't call it that because of their power struggle with DC. That's why, side plug, I advocate Disney. You're already a fucking conglomerate. Just purchase DC so y'all can merge and we can get the shit show over with. But regardless, the fact they don't use reboot or retcon as a word to explain what they're doing when they are rebooting and retconning all the time, that's a problem. Like, it's a genuine issue when it comes to the scaling side. For example, back in the 60s, 70s, specifically 70s, especially with Doctor Strange and Strange Tales and the cosmological stories they used to advance our perception and knowledge of the Marvel cosmology, that was, in my opinion, probably the gold era. Before Secret Wars, really. And I have a rant coming on Beyond. Don't worry about that. But before Secret Wars, we had some cohesiveness. We understood where the abstracts were. We understood where certain layers were supposed to be. I have old videos on classic cosmology, and I'm probably going to remake it just to show you guys when we had the best version of Marvel's cosmology. But it made a lot more sense back then because honestly the politics weren't as big. They weren't as worried about reboots or retcons or making major changes to the cosmology. They were just simply adding to it and fleshing it out. And the editors back then had a way bigger hold on how the cosmology is being shaped. Stan himself said the editors were working to make sure everything was cohesive back in 71 to 75 range, and kept that way. And then Secret Wars came and everything went to fucking hell. But I digress. Now, this is an issue with the cosmology now. For example, Defenders Beyond. That was not called a reboot. That was not called a retcon, not in the official sense. Yet, it literally redefined all of the cosmos to have occurred in Marvel. That is, the different times the universe and the multiverse has gone through an official reboot, or at least a reboot in the sense of where they stand in the cosmos within the story. Now, I don't have a problem with what Defenders Beyond did. If Defenders Beyond had been the groundwork for how we're moving forward in Marvel until we get an official retcon, I would have been fine. Because, regardless of what you think about it, Defenders Beyond was pretty cohesive in how it presented the new landscape. It made sense with how it presented the new landscape. We could follow that and we could build off of that. Yet, within a couple fucking months, that shit got rebooted. New information was added. Contradictory information was added. Suddenly, Beyonder was not created by the Celestials. Beyonder was created by someone called the Lost One. What the fuck? Like, that changes cosmology in itself. There's constant stories that contradict themselves on where characters should be in the cosmology, what they should represent, how strong they should be. For an example of things I hate, it looks like current Hulk is going to be pitted against Thanos in the Thanos series. Why? Hulk should be left alone for now. He is currently on a cosmological expansion journey himself, literally battling the Mother of Horrors, someone who was created outside of the power of the One Above All. That's major. His journey is major. They need to that individual run. Because if you bring him over to get beat up by Thanos, this shit is suddenly not going to make sense. Like, that is not how the verse should currently be functioning. They would have to take that Thanos and essentially put him at Toa level. Essentially put him at Mother of Horrors level. Which, if they do, okay, fuck it, we ball. Thanos fans, y'all are so up. But taking a character currently going on this journey that's fleshing out the monster side of the mythos, you don't do that. You leave him alone. You let the world building continue without threatening the hierarchy of things being established in one story. We are seeing an issue where, and I want to say this too, a lot of the modern complaints you see with Marvel and DC is people talking about them being woke, people talking about them pushing progressive agendas. Fuck all that. Give me a solid cosmology that makes sense and you can be as woke as you want. I do not give a shit. Where you lose me as a reader, where you frustrate me as someone who often delves into these comics, is when you provide contradictory stories and placement of characters back to back. When you have Beyonder stories seemingly getting shit on and torn apart and used in different ways in like the last 3 years alone, that's craziness. That is a character, whether you like Beyonder or not. I personally loved pre-retcon Beyonder, shameless plug. I thought he was funny as fuck. Whether you like him or not, you can't use him and change his shit every few years because he is supposed to be a placeholder within the cosmology. He is supposed to represent the beyond. And when you start changing that, it gets weird. When you start taking Marvel's Hells, and I love all the stories involved with Marvel Hells. Immortal Thor or Immortal Hulk, absolute banger. Carnage in Hell, absolute banger. Robbie Reyes, absolute banger. I'm not the biggest Johnny Blaze fan, but King in Hell, Johnny Blaze, dope story. Danny Catch as the Limbo Rider, dope story. But when you take Hell and you change Hell every 5 minutes in modern Marvel, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that? How am I supposed to understand how everything works? I am sitting here with my team that's helping me assemble the Marvel research, and we're getting stuck on layers because we're like, hey, they have 6 different realms that are supposed to represent this part. Yet, that's not the case, or that is contradicted a few issues later. There doesn't seem to be a consistency within Marvel when it comes to how these realms are supposed to be. And that becomes such a big issue because some of the most popular characters rely on these realms for where we're supposed to know they scale. For example, Ghost Rider. There's a lot of Ghost Rider fans out there. Who's my favorite Ghost Rider? Robbie Reyes. My only thing with the Ghost Riders is, I don't know how strong Hell is on this Tuesday. That shit probably got retconned last week. They probably added a new Hell. They probably deleted a Hell. They have done this. And it's like, man, You're creating a pit of stories with no backing. You're creating a pit of stories that confuse the shit out of us. Damn the woke arguments. We need a story we can read where we understand. We're almost turning into the meme of, oh, comics don't make sense because there's multiple writers. We used to be able to truck through comics. We used to be able to read comics, and authors would have a character and they would flesh it out, and then other stories would at least somewhat respect what that character is supposed to mean. And that's proper, because you're supposed to know how a character scales and how they function before you start to utilize them. That's how it works. Like, you should know the material before you go into it. Now, I do have some theories on why we have to deal with this bullshit. One of my theories is that, and this is, again, I'm a comic guy, but we can say the quiet part out loud. Manga and anime culture is kind of shitting on comics culture. And you can understand why when manga comes out so much more. It's like a weekly thing usually. Plus, they have so many banger headlines going at the same time. They have so many good stories running at the same time, or popular stories from different verses that attract different readers. And it creates a conglomerate of amazing support for the industry. I feel like writers, especially in current times, are trying to compensate for this mismatch of sales and whatnot and popularity by trying to produce the next big thing, the next big surprise, the next big, oh shit, we're punching them in the mouth with new information, with changes. Are y'all following where that becomes a problem? When you're constantly trying to make something more than what it is. If you're trying to change something in order to bring attention to it, to spark interest, to make people say, oh shit, this is something new we haven't seen before. You can't get lost in the sauce. You can't go for that bag while forsaking consistency and ultimately the background and the rock for which we're building these comics on. There needs to be a basic respect for the cosmology in order for these fucking stories to make sense. The writers have to sit down. I don't give a shit if you're writing Hawkeye or if you're writing Silver Surfer. Motherfuckers, sit down, talk to each other, and let each other know, hey, we have the Hells placed here. We have Asgard placed here. The other god planes like Olympus placed here. We have the 4 abstracts of infinity, eternity, oblivion, death. We all have them mapped out. We know where Mother of Horrors is. We know where the One Above All is. You have to do that, because when you don't, we get situations like this. Well, I'm trying to draw a map, but motherfucker, I don't know where I am. I don't know where we are, because it keeps changing every Wednesday. I think one of the greatest examples of a character suffering from the back and forth on the cosmology, Nightmare. Where the fuck does Nightmare scale? Does he scale below Hulk? Does he scale below Ghost Rider? Does he scale below Conan? Does he scale above Beyonders? Does he scale above the other abstracts? Does he compare to Helllords? We don't fucking know, because his power level and his placement or value with the Nightmare realm, the cosmology, is constantly changing. How the fuck do you go from getting mauled by the Chaos King to bodying Beyonders without some major retcon? Are y'all getting what I'm saying? We need a consistency, or else you get me on this mic annoyed and frustrated, because I want to give the people, I want to give my channel subscribers the chance to see a cosmology video to help them out. But it is hard to save a burning building when they keep restarting the fire. It's really tough. And the only thing I can think of is I can make the old Cosmology reboot video where I explain when Marvel really made sense. Or I could try. I could give my best attempt at tackling the current Marvel Cosmology. But in doing so, we have to concede going in. I'm going to be wrong on some things, because next Tuesday, they're going to fucking retcon it without calling it a retcon. They're going to change it without telling us they're changing that shit. They're going to swap places in the cosmology of certain realms and the hierarchy, and it's just going to outdate my video. The best we can do is I go in with what we know. I try to make some sense of this shit pile, and we do what we can with what we have. Now, before people say, oh, that means Marvel's cosmology is not strong. Not what I'm saying. I'm saying that shit does not make fucking sense. I don't understand black holes. Scientists barely understand black holes. I can tell you that bitch is powerful. I don't understand what they're doing in the Marvel cosmology. I can tell you it's powerful. I can give you samples of how it's powerful. But again, when it's constantly in flux and it seems like writers are just doing whatever to the cosmology without fully fleshing it out, we get into some shit. We get angry jobber and goon rants on the mic. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you're happy with how Marvel's treating the current cosmology, let me know. Defend that shit in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear that side of the argument. But as someone who's been talking to the authors, I just can't help but wonder, like, why don't they just sit down, draw a fucking map, label where certain places are, and stick with that until they have an official retcon? That's all the boy's asking for. Marvel, if you want me to come in and do that shit, I'll happily do it. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your love and support. Make sure to check out my other content as well. And if you want to see me rant on other shit, let me know if you enjoy my rants, because I like talking to you guys about stuff that matters to me. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and head out. Thank you all for the love and support, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.